A young mother is dead after being shot while she was in a car on the city's south side. Police say her baby survived that shooting unharmed.
They call it a miracle that the baby survived. 50-plus bullets tore through that car, and a 13-month-old walked away without a single injury. But here's the thing nobody's talking about. Miracles don't answer questions. A 26-year-old mother is gone. Her child's father is wounded but alive. And 3 shooters are still out there. What kind of beef leads to 50 rounds in the middle of the day, right outside a church with a baby in the back seat? Before we get into it, make sure you leave a like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to True Crime Tragedies so you don't miss what happens next. Gabrielle Ayers went by G to some folks, Gabby to others. She was 26 years old, ran her own hair salon in Chicago. A stylist who put in the work, stayed dedicated to her craft, and spent her days making clients feel good about themselves. People who knew her said she was kind, focused on building something solid for her future. Now, back in August of 2024, Gabrielle shared something online that gave you a window into how she moved. Somebody posted a question asking what you'd do if your baby's father was getting jumped by 6 people. Gabrielle's response: "I ain't one to hurt people, but don't push me." That one line told you everything. She wasn't out here looking for trouble, but she had a protective side when it came to the people she cared about. She wasn't the type to just stand by. December 2024, Gabrielle gave birth to a baby girl. From that point on, being a mother became everything. She wasn't just living for herself no more. She was building a future that had roots, something stable and full of love for her child. Fast forward to December 20th, 2025. Gabrielle celebrated her daughter's first birthday and went all out for it. Posted about the party online, called her daughter the prettiest girl in the world, talked about how much she loved her. If you scrolled through her page that day, you saw a woman who was proud, happy, doing what she needed to do for her baby. Now, a few months before that celebration, Gabrielle had some legal issues come up. September 2025, she got arrested and charged with retail theft under $300 and theft of lost or mislaid property under $500. But on September 23, 2025, Gabrielle posted on social media that her case got dismissed. She celebrated being found not guilty, even poked fun at people who'd been following her legal troubles. Life seemed to be moving forward. She had her salon, she had her daughter, and she was working toward the kind of future she wanted. It was a regular Tuesday afternoon, February 4th, 2026, in Chicago's Auburn Gresham neighborhood. Gabrielle was sitting in a white car in the 7900 block of South Main Street. Behind the wheel was her child's father, 27-year-old Rico Suave. In the back seat, strapped into her car seat, was their 13-month-old daughter. The location matters here, because they were literally steps away from St. Sabina Parish, a church that had been part of that community for years. This was a busy street in the middle of the day, the kind of place where people are walking by, driving past, going in and out of businesses nearby. It was the last spot you'd expect any kind of violence to pop off. By around 1:25 in the afternoon, at least 3 men walked up to the vehicle. They were armed and they didn't hesitate. What happened next got caught on camera by a witness who was on their way home from work. That witness started recording as soon as they saw what was about to go down. The men opened fire on that white car. We're talking about over 50 rounds getting pumped into the vehicle, just a relentless attack. After they emptied their clips, they ran to a red Alfa Romeo that was waiting nearby. But instead of just taking off, they made it clear this wasn't about sending a message. That red Alfa Romeo pulled up right in front of the white car, and the shooters fired several more rounds into the already destroyed vehicle before they finally sped away from the scene. The white car ended up crashing into a GMC van that was parked nearby. The driver of that van wasn't involved in any of this, wasn't hurt, just an innocent person caught up in the chaos of what had just gone down. After it was all over, the scene on South May Street was covered in shell casings. evidence of just how many rounds got fired in those few minutes. Gabrielle had been struck multiple times throughout her body. The injuries were severe, real critical. Rico had also been hit, but his injuries weren't life-threatening. He was conscious, and from what we know, he was able to communicate with first responders when they got there. Now, here's the part that shook everybody. That 13-month-old baby girl in the back seat, sitting in her car seat, didn't have a single injury. Not one. A witness who arrived at the scene shortly after said they saw the baby in the back, holding a lollipop. Emergency services got there, and Gabrielle was rushed to OSF Little Company of Mary Hospital in critical condition. Rico was taken to Advocate Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn, where he was listed in good condition. The baby was safely removed from the scene by a Chicago police officer and taken to get checked out at the hospital as a precaution, but she had no physical injuries. From everything investigators could tell, there were multiple shooters who fired dozens of shots, maybe more than 50, and somehow, all of those bullets missed a baby who was sitting right there in the car that was being targeted. The shooting happened not far from St. Sabina Church and their food pantry nearby. Leo High School was also close by. Church workers from the parish's food pantry had been inside during the attack and hid in a back room when they heard the shots. After it was over, they came out to try to help the victims and were part of getting that baby out of the car safely. The whole thing left the community shaken, asking the same question over and over. What could have possibly led to this level of violence? Investigators started working the scene immediately, collecting all those shell casings, reviewing surveillance footage from nearby buildings, talking to witnesses. The cell phone video that had been recorded by that witness got turned over to authorities and gave them crucial evidence of what went down. The question of motive became the central focus of the investigation. Investigators believed that the intended target of the attack was Rico, and the 27-year-old who'd been driving the car. But here's the thing. When you fire that many rounds, there's no way to control where those bullets go. Gabrielle, who may not have been the intended target, ended up taking the worst of it. Despite everything medical staff did at OSF Little Company of Mary Hospital, Gabrielle succumbed to her injuries. She was pronounced dead at the hospital. Rico survived his injuries and is expected to recover physically.
A young mother is dead after being shot while she was in a car on the city's south side. Police say her baby survived that shooting unharmed. Hello again, everyone, on this Thursday morning. I'm Patrick Elwood.
And I'm Dina Bair. Thank you for joining us. WGN's Angelica Sanchez is live in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood with the latest on the investigation. Angelica?
Pat and Dina, nothing short of a miracle is how the baby's condition is being described, as those that were on the scene tell us that there were actual bullet casings found in the baby's car seat. Crime Stoppers is now offering a reward for any information that could lead to an arrest. Skycab 9 flies over the 7900 block of South May Street, where a white vehicle riddled with bullet holes has collided with a nearby GMC van. Officers located two victims inside the car, a 26-year-old woman and a 27-year-old man. The female victim was struck multiple times and passed away from her injuries, while the male victim is expected to survive.
It's like something out of a war zone.
The female victim is identified as 26-year-old Gabrielle Ayers. Cook County Crime Stoppers is offering a $10,000 reward for information that leads to the person or persons responsible for her murder. Multiple people pulled over or ran over to try and help them. To everyone's shock, the victim's daughter, a baby girl, was located unharmed in her car seat.
It's a miracle with all the gunshot wounds on that car on both sides and all the shooting that took place, that baby was spared and nothing. God must have a plan for that baby.
The shooting unfolded not far from St. Sabina Church and their nearby food pantry. Leo High School is also in close proximity. Father Michael Flager says he was there too and has also seen videos circulating on social media showing more than one shooter targeting the car. He says the shooters have no soul.
These guys just coming out with long guns, just shooting. I mean, there were bullets, casings all over the street. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it was obviously, I don't know what the origin of this was, but they were obviously after this car and the people in it. But you know, whether they knew or not knew a baby was in the back seat, they didn't care. They were just going to shoot wildly at this car and end up killing a young mother.
No arrests have been made, and again, Crime Stoppers is now offering a $10,000 reward. You can reach out to CPD or to Crime Stoppers, where you can remain anonymous. Live in Auburn Gresham, Angelica Sanchez, WGN News.
Shortly after, somebody made a post that read, "They just tried to end my cousin. God got him, though. Rico Suave, love you still here." The post confirmed what investigators already knew, that Rico had survived a targeted attack. People who lived in the area, who knew Gabrielle, or who were just tired of the violence that had been plaguing Chicago for years, they spoke out after Gabrielle's death. Now, this is where things start to get real murky. Gabrielle had an old social media post from November 21st, 2025 that resurfaced after her death. She'd made a post saying she was going to post someone's deceased brother in a casket on her page. The post sparked heated exchanges in the comments. A woman questioned whether Gabrielle would actually post it, warning that Rico and someone else were going to handle it. She also asked if Gabrielle's people were getting dragged out of a car, going on a mission. Gabrielle replied, saying, "My brother got left on a hit." That same day, Gabrielle had also posted saying she didn't care about anyone posting her address because she was moving anyway. Now, looking back at these posts after what happened to Gabrielle, people started connecting dots. The exchanges weren't just casual online arguments. They involved references to violence, retaliation, actual threats. But here's the thing. While people were looking at Gabrielle's social media history, they were also looking at Rico's timeline. And what got found raised even more questions. On February 14th, 2025, almost a full year before the shooting, Rico had made a post that painted a real concerning picture of his relationship with Gabrielle. He posted about texting Gabrielle to FaceTime him with their daughter, and when she finally called after 3 hours, he said she was getting messed up. He wrote that if anyone even played like that, he was going to put 300 rounds all across them in her. The post drew responses from people in the comments. Gabrielle herself had responded, posting, "You take me down. Hawk, you know I'm coming back." Someone commented telling Gabrielle to come get the weapon. Then there were other comments that were even more direct. Someone tagged Rico and wrote, "We finna end her." And Rico replied, "She thinks it's a game." In other responses, he wrote, "She's counting her days. She will not get a second chance to do this." Now, the disturbing part is what these posts suggest when you look at them in the context of what happened a year later. It raises some real, unsettling questions. Him stating that she wouldn't get a second chance, and then the shooting occurring just days before Valentine's Day, almost exactly a year after he made those threats. How did Rico survive those number of shots if he was actually the target? Think about it. Over 50 rounds get fired into a car. And the man who investigators say was the intended target walks away with non-life-threatening injuries, while the woman sitting next to him doesn't make it. That alone raises questions. So, was he really involved in planning something against her? Or was he caught up in something else entirely? Something that had nothing to do with their relationship and everything to do with street conflicts. On December 27, 2025, Rico had posted, "Long live 3Ski. Consequences happen every time your name is mentioned." The timeline gets even more concerning when you look at what happened in the days leading up to the shooting. On February 3, 2026, just one day before the attack, Rico posted, "You cowards, free Marley, free Demon." That post seemed confrontational, like he was calling somebody out. Gabrielle's final post was also on February 3, 2026. She reposted something that read, "I stay humble 'cause I've seen people laugh at somebody, then turn around and become the same thing they joked about." 24 hours later, she'd be fighting for her life in that white car. Now, here's what really got people talking. At 5:58 p.m. on February 4th, 2026, just hours after the shooting that took Gabrielle's life, Rico posted, "Don't put me last, knowing I'd be the first one to risk it all for you." The post came approximately 4.5 hours after the attack. 4.5 hours after Gabriel had been rushed to the hospital. 4.5 hours after he'd been shot himself. Was it a message? Was it directed at the people responsible? A message that he was still standing and still ready to risk it all? Or was it something else? People started asking harder questions. They went back through that February 14th, 2025 post, the one where Rico threatened to put 300 rounds in Gabrielle. They looked at the timing. Valentine's Day, 2025, he makes the threat. February 4th, 2026, just 10 days before Valentine's Day, the shooting happens. Some folks in the community started wondering out loud. If Rico was the target, why would he have Gabrielle and their baby in the car with him? If he knew he had beef in the streets, if he knew people were looking for him, why would he put them in that position? And then, there's the other angle people couldn't ignore. That post from a year earlier where he said she wouldn't get a second chance, where people in the comments talked about ending her, where he said consequences would happen. Was this the streets coming for him and Gabrielle just got caught in it? Or was this something that had been building for a year? Something that started with those threats back on Valentine's Day 2025. The investigation into Gabrielle's death is still ongoing. No arrests have been made, and investigators are still working to identify the shooters and determine the actual motive behind the attack. The video evidence is clear. The surveillance footage from nearby buildings is clear. The witness statements paint a picture of what happened. But the reason why? That's still unclear. Detectives have the cell phone video from the witness who recorded the attack. They have over 50 shell casings collected from the scene. They have the red Alfa Romeo on camera. They have the multiple witnesses who saw 3 armed men approach that white car and open fire. What they don't have is a definitive answer to the question everyone's been asking since February 4th. Who wanted this to happen and why? The community has been vocal about wanting justice for Gabrielle. Father Michael Flieger and others from St. Sabina Parish have called for anyone with information to come forward. The Godfather, Kirk Bell, spoke about how senseless the violence was.
What's the purpose of shooting at a car when you know there's a child in the car? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it could be a lot of other people who's lost their life here today.
How Gabrielle was a beautiful young woman with a beautiful child whose life got cut short for reasons nobody can fully understand.
This here is unbelievable. This young lady was a beautiful young lady with a beautiful child, and life just cut short. For what?
But in cases like this, where social media posts suggest one thing and street conflicts suggest another, getting to the truth becomes complicated. People have their theories. Some believe Rico was absolutely the target and Gabrielle was collateral damage. Others look at those old posts and wonder if there's more to the story. The fact remains, 3 men walked up to that car in broad daylight, fired over 50 rounds, got back in a red Alfa Romeo, pulled up in front of the car again, and fired even more shots before leaving. That level of aggression, that many rounds, that kind of brazen attack in the middle of the day near a church, it suggests something personal, something deep. Investigators are still piecing it together. They're reviewing Rico's social media history. They're looking at Gabrielle's posts and the exchanges she had in the months leading up to her death. They're tracking down leads on the red Alfa Romeo. They're talking to people in the community who might know something about who had beef with Rico, or who might have had issues with Gabrielle. But as of right now, those 3 shooters are still out there, and the motive is still officially undetermined. The reality is, cases like this expose something a lot of people don't want to talk about. When you're involved with someone who's in the streets, who's got active beef, who's posting confrontational things online and calling people out, you become a target too, even if you're not the one they're after. Some people in the community have said it directly. If you know your man is hot right now, if you know he's got people looking for him, why would you get in a car with him, especially with your baby in the back seat? It's a fair question, but it's also complicated. Because relationships aren't that simple. Love isn't that simple. And sometimes people don't realize how deep the danger is until it's too late. Gabrielle's story isn't just about her. It's about every woman who's ever been caught in the crossfire of street violence that had nothing to do with her. It's about every mother who's ever had to make a choice between loyalty to someone she loves and protecting herself and her child. And it's about a system that allows this kind of violence to keep happening, where 3 men can walk up to a car in broad daylight, fire over 50 rounds near a church with a baby in the back seat, and just drive away. The Auburn Gresham neighborhood has seen too much of this. Chicago has seen too much of this. Families torn apart, children left without parents. Communities traumatized by violence that feels endless. Father Flieger said it best when he talked about the shooters having no soul.
It's a miracle that that baby was not shot. It's a miracle. So they saw, the young man and the woman shot up in the car as they were trying to get the baby out. But they gave the baby immediately to the police, and the policewoman took it in her car and was holding it.
Because how do you fire that many rounds into a car knowing there's a possibility a child is inside? How do you pull up after already shooting and fire even more rounds? How do you live with yourself after that? That 13-month-old baby girl is now growing up without her mother. She survived something that should have killed her. Over 50 bullets tore through that car, and somehow not a single one touched her. People call it divine intervention, a miracle, God's protection. But miracles don't bring mothers back. That little girl is going to grow up knowing her mom died in a car while she was sitting in the back seat. She's going to grow up with a viral video circulating online showing the moment her mother was killed. She's going to grow up hearing different versions of what happened and why. And when she gets older, she's going to ask questions. She's going to want to know why 3 men walked up to the car she was in and tried to kill everyone inside. She's going to want to know if her father was the real target. She's going to want to know if her mother's death could have been prevented. Those are questions that might never have clear answers. Rico is still here. He survived his injuries and is expected to recover fully. But he's got to live with what happened. He's got to raise his daughter knowing that she was in the car when her mother died. He's got to answer for those posts he made a year earlier. As the ones where he threatened to put 300 rounds in Gabrielle. The ones where he said she wouldn't get a second chance. Whether he was involved in what happened or whether he was genuinely the target and Gabrielle got caught in the crossfire, that's something investigators are still trying to figure out. But the community has questions, and those questions aren't going away. The fact that Rico survived and Gabrielle didn't is hard to ignore, and then there's the question of why Gabrielle was in that car in the first place. If Rico knew he had beef, if he knew people were looking for him, if he was posting confrontational things online just days before, why did he have his child's mother and his baby daughter with him? Some people say it's because he didn't think anything would happen. Others say it's because he was being reckless, selfish even, putting them in danger for no reason. And some people look at those old posts and wonder if he knew exactly what was going to happen. We don't have those answers, and we might never have them. What we do have is a dead mother, a surviving father, and a baby who's going to grow up in the shadow of this violence. Gabrielle Ayers was 26 years old. She owned her own business. She was a dedicated mother who loved her daughter more than anything. She celebrated that little girl's first birthday with pride and joy just weeks before her life was taken. She wasn't perfect. Nobody is. She had legal troubles. She had conflicts with people online. She was involved in situations that were clearly dangerous. But she was also trying to build a future for her child, trying to create something stable and lasting. Her death is a reminder of how quickly everything can be taken away, how violence doesn't discriminate, how being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or with the wrong person, can cost you your life. It's a reminder that social media posts have consequences, that threats made online aren't just words, that the things we say, as the beefs we engage in, the conflicts we participate in, they can follow us into real life with deadly results, And it's a reminder that domestic violence and street violence often overlap in ways that are hard to untangle. Was this a case of a woman being targeted by her child's father? Was it a case of a woman being caught in the crossfire of street beef? Or was it both? For the people who loved Gabrielle, for her family, for her daughter, the answers to those questions matter. But for everyone else watching this case, the lesson is simpler. Violence like this doesn't just affect the people who get shot. It affects entire communities. It traumatizes witnesses. It leaves children without parents. It creates cycles of retaliation that can go on for generations. Gabrielle's daughter is alive because of what people are calling a miracle. But she's also motherless because of choices that were made, beefs that weren't resolved, and violence that was allowed to escalate to the point where 3 men felt comfortable walking up to a car in broad daylight and firing over 50 rounds. The investigation is ongoing. The shooters are still out there, and the questions about what really happened and why are still unanswered. The world keeps spinning, and so does the violence. Cases like Gabrielle's remind us that we can't afford to ignore the warning signs. We can't afford to dismiss online threats as just talk. We can't afford to put ourselves or the people we love in dangerous situations because we think it won't happen to us. Stay observant. Listen to your instincts. Pay attention to the people around you and the situations you find yourself in, because sometimes, the difference between life and death is recognizing danger before it's too late. Gabrielle didn't get that chance, but her story can serve as a warning for everyone else. Rest in peace to Gabrielle Ayers. Prayers to her family, her daughter, and everyone who loved her.